Hello, everybody. This is Pastor Willie, and it's the encouraging word for today. Sometimes there's one word that opens our eyes to everything. And today I'm going to talk to you about one of those words, a key word in the Bible, a key word in life. And I honestly believe you understand this word, and if you apply it to your life, it'll change your life. It'll change the way you live, change the way you think, change your life financially, change your life spiritually, change your life in terms of relationships. It'll change everything in your life. And of course, it's found in the writings of Paul. He uses this word repeatedly, referring to himself. And I believe this is the key to understanding how Paul could have such faith, how Paul could have such perseverance, how Paul could endure so many things in life, because he understood this one word. And I'm going to read to you from Galatians chapter 2, and I'm going to read verse 7. He's talking about about favoritism, about when he met the other apostles, and they were kind of like he was a late comer. He hadn't been with Jesus, and they developed kind of not a competition, but questions about Paul, about whether he was really an apostle. Many questions. He never had those about himself, but other people had it about him, and almost like a ranking that people had in their mind, favoritism, things like that. And so in Galatians 2, verse 7, gives us that one word that Paul understood above everything else. He says, on the contrary, they, that's the other apostles, recognized that I had been entrusted with the task of preaching the gospel to the uncircumcised, just as Peter had been to the circumcised. And the key word there is entrusted. You remember how Paul, when he was saved, Ananias had a message from God, and I'm sure he shared it with that. He was going to be, he was God's chosen instrument. And Paul lived as God's chosen instrument. He knew he was entrusted with something by God. And once you realize that you have been entrusted with something by God, it changes everything. It changes everything. So what have you been entrusted with? Number one, you've been entrusted with the knowledge of the gospel, the good news of Jesus. If you're a follower of Jesus, you've been entrusted with the gospel. God has entrusted it. Entrusted is when something is given you, that it's not yours, but it's an honor to have it, and there's an accountability that comes with being entrusted. If I entrust you with, let's use a financial example. If I entrust you with $1,000, it's still you have it, but it's still mine. And one day it's going to be accounting. What did you do with that $1,000 I gave you? So understanding we're entrusted with the good news about Jesus helps us to understand that one day God's going to ask me, what did you do with the good news of Jesus? Who did you tell? Who did you lead to Christ? You've been entrusted with that. So that word entrust changes everything. You've been entrusted with the gospel. You've been entrusted with time in your life. You have 24 hours, 7 days a week, for however many years God allows you on this earth. That's been entrusted to you. I can't control my time, how much time I'm given. You can't control how much time you're given. And the gray hairs and white hairs remind me, I can't control time. What am I going to do with the life that God has entrusted to me, with the time He's entrusted to me? How are you going to spend the time God has entrusted to you. One day he's going to ask you, what did you do with what I entrusted with you? The time I entrusted. We all have abilities and gifts and things that we can do. What are you doing with every gift, every ability you have? Maybe you're a great singer. Maybe you're good with organizing things. Whatever your gift is, what are you doing with that gift? Are you using it for God's glory? Are you using your finances? God, every penny you have. I just found a penny when I was walking, and I put it in my pocket, as I always do. If I find something, I'm entrusted with that penny. What am I going to do with that penny? It's not mine. Someone lost it, but in reality, it's God's. Every financial blessing we have comes from God. I can't treat it as my own. So the question is, it's entrusted to me. What am I going to do? Am I going to be a good steward? And finally, your life is entrusted to you. My life. God's given me a life. What am I going to do with my life? What are you going to do with your life? My friends, that's the key question of life. You're entrusted with everything. What are you going to do with it? Paul understood he was entrusted with his life, with the gospel, with his gifts, and he gladly used it 100% for God's purposes. Let us follow Paul's example. God bless you, and I'll see you tomorrow on Facebook Live.